looked as if the murder of Ed Schiller might be wrapped up in a series of relationships involving Schiller, his high school sweetheart Stacy Rock, and her soon-to-be ex-husband Jim Brescia. But was it? So far, the pieces didn't add up to a love triangle murder.
All kinds of things are saying you should be looking at Jim Brescia, and yet Jim Brescia's got an alibi. Pretty good one.
No question about it.
The morning of the murder, Brescia was at work at Raytheon, more than 20 miles away from the scene of the crime. For 23 years, he'd worked at the defense contractor where employees maintained government security clearances.
Doesn't sound to me like the guy behind the murder-for-hire plot.
From his co-workers, he was an intense family man. He loved his children, and that he was going through a divorce that he didn't want. He was trying to get back with his wife.
Jim Brescia was looking down the barrel of a divorce he didn't want, and a boyfriend he didn't want his wife or his children involved with.
He hated Ed.
And he made that pretty clear.
Yep, even to my kids.
Did he ever threaten Ed?
Yes.
What did he say?
That if we ended up together, it wouldn't be good for his health.
Did you believe him?
No, I just thought that was just another one of his ways of trying to scare me.
It seems that Ed Schiller himself realized Brescia's problems with him could come with a big price tag. Ed's brother, Carl.
He said to his neighbor, in fact, that if I wind up with a bullet in my head, you'll know who did it.
So there were suspicions, but no proof that Jim Brescia was involved in anything illegal. Duke Donahue thought of another place to look.
You went through his trash?
We did. And his alibi was holding up that he was at work, so we decided to do a trash pull at Jim Brescia's home in Walton.
What's in Jim Brescia's trash?
Well, a couple things of significance. One was an empty binoculars box. The second was a credit card receipt.
Brescia had used his credit card at Ocean State Job Lot in Marlborough, Massachusetts. Maybe Duke Donahue should have played the lottery that day, because he turned out to be very lucky. The store produced a list of every purchase Brescia made there with his credit card. And one thing leaped out.
A prepaid calling card.
A phone card?
Yes.
Jim Brescia had a home phone, an office phone, a personal cell phone, and a Raytheon-issued cell phone. So why would he need a prepaid calling card to make calls from a payphone?
That prepaid phone card made only 5 calls, and they were all to the same number.
The person on the other end was a man named Scott Foxworth, and he was a man with a past.
Scott Foxworth had actually done time for a homicide many years ago.
Foxworth had just been released from prison on probation after killing a man in a bar fight. Foxworth had used a gun to win that fight and was sent away for 4 years. And police soon found something else. A suspicious car employees noticed in the parking garage the morning of Ed's murder.
It was described as a red or maroon, kind of an older model. It was in the garage, backed into a spot across from where Ed Schiller was later parked.
Police checked. Jim Brescia did not own a red car.
What kind of car does Scott Foxworth drive?
Scott Foxworth drives a red Ford Taurus.
Donahue subpoenaed Foxworth's phone records.
In reviewing those records, that phone on the morning of the homicide called Jim Brescia's desk phone at Raytheon. That phone also called another co-worker at Raytheon, and that was Nancy Campbell.
Nancy Campbell, a 25-year employee at Raytheon, a friend of Jim Brescia's, and a former girlfriend of Scott Foxworth. Was she the link between these two men? Police questioned Foxworth. They asked why he and Brescia had talked so often. And Foxworth said the calls were about matters of love, not murder.
Jim was going to assist Scott potentially getting back with Nancy Campbell.
So the ostensible reason that Jim Brescia's using a prepaid phone card to surreptitiously call a cell phone is because he's playing matchmaker. Do you believe that?
That may be a hard one.
Brescia, Foxworth, and now Campbell, knew police were looking at them as possible suspects.
A decision was made that we could do a wiretap, which would give us the ability to listen to the conversations that potentially Nancy Campbell or Scott Foxworth or Jim Brescia were engaging in.
And how did they react?
Silence.
So this is like Sherlock Holmes, the dog not barking.
Correct.
Donahue thought the weak link in the chain was Nancy Campbell, a single mother. After 4 interviews and the threat of a murder conspiracy rap hanging over her, Nancy Campbell cracked.
Ultimately, she told us everything she knew about Scott Foxworth assisting Jim in maybe roughing up, was sending Ed Schiller a message.
Nancy Campbell gave up the goods. This was a murder-for-hire plot. The price on Ed Schiller's head? $10,000. 3 months after the murder, Jim Brescia and the man police say he'd hired as a hitman, Scott Foxworth, were in court facing charges of first-degree murder. But this was not going to be a slam-dunk case.
Look at the evidence, it's circumstantial. There's calls, but there's no hard evidence.
But there would be surprises when the defendant's own mother took the stand. Would she keep her son out of prison or let the cat out of the bag?
What's inside the envelope?
$4,000.
When the Friday the 13th mystery continues.